Okay. Wow. Well, hello, welcome. This is the 2025 International Day of the Woman. Today, March 8th. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Every year we do this, but every year it gets so much more exciting. I am Dr. Amina Ali. I will be your moderator today, and I am hosting two phenomenal women, just out of the box phenomenal, that are doing great work domestically and internationally. They need no introduction, but we're going to go into what they do, who they are, and giving them a brief synopsis of themselves in their voice. So, without further ado, we're going to talk to uh, interim doctor Lisa Jones, who is the founder of the Global Goodwill Ambassador Foundation, a huge nonprofit here in the United States. And then we're going to do Madam Faith Matoka, who is in her master's program here in the United States at Harvard Heritage University. She is also doing great work on the ground for women, gender, and human rights solutions and advocacy. So, Lisa, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a little bit about GGAF.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. And thank you, Amina, for arranging this. Dr. Amina, I really appreciate it. And it's good to have our families together, Global
Yes.
Goodwill Ambassadors and FIGHR. And I just figure this is like the best thing in the world for both to be together. And I truly, truly mean that.
Wow.
Um, I'm the CEO and of co-founder of Global Goodwill Ambassadors Foundation. We are a nonprofit and we do help people around the world. We concentrate on orphans, we concentrate on sanitary pads, we concentrate on the homeless, education, and Harbor Heritage and FIGHR is one of our FIGHR is one of our educational partners. Um and it's wonderful because those are classes that we don't have that that go delve deeper into things, help women that Amina offers. So, but it's good to be here. We have members in every country, and it's just it's exciting, and we have a magazine too. So
Yes, the ambassador. We're going to get into that also and talk about how everyone can contribute and be a part of that and lend their voice. But next, we're going to talk to Faith Mathoka. She is offering great resources in gender and human rights. She does women's work and she is phenomenal in her CBOs. So, Faith, if you would, could you raise your voice? Tell us a little bit about yourself and then what it is that you do.
Hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. I am Faith Modhoka from Kenya. I am a human rights advocate. I volunteer with the Girl Smile Initiative and the Global Goodwill Ambassadors Foundation. I am pro women advancing. I am pro human rights being respected, not just in my country, but worldwide. In a nutshell, I am pro human rights.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I thank you for being in that arena because we don't hear a lot about East Africa. We don't hear about the human rights as much as we should. But with the conflicts that are going on, this should be like on the top of all of our lists. And with all of the injustices that are happening around the world, we should see this with the greatest passion as we see the United States or we see North America for that matter. So I thank you for doing the work in this area. It gives great voice to the women and it allows for the demographic to be understood. So we have a few questions here, but we're going to get into that as soon as we introduce Columbia University here in New York. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 students from Columbia that has come in. Thank you so much. Thank you, Columbia. Fordham, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 9. Sorry, I missed it. I said 8, 7. It's 9 students from Fordham University, and they are coming in on their free day, on their day that they don't have any classes. They're coming in to join us on the live stream. They're going to have some questions for you, of course. and connection points. So in the meantime, while we talk about Women's Day, can each of the hosts put their name, their email, and their LinkedIn in the chat, please, so that the live stream can get it. These texts are going to send it over to the live stream, and they'll be able to reach out to you. As you know, International Day of the Woman is not just one day. It is a day we kick off what we're going to be doing for the rest of the year. And this year, we're going to be speaking specifically to women and girls. And a lot of what it is that we see in women and girls is going to be the deficits, with all of the rights being up in the air here in the United States and some rights never even being on the table in certain countries. This year, we're going to be dedicating our focus on women and girls. Now, I know I'm going to get some kickback this year, and I got my armor on. You see, Lisa sent the armor. And she and the armor is we're going to be outlining what we do for women in real time. So we're going to be action items, and the action items are going to be deliberate and intentional, period. And we are going to do this all year round. Now, this day, of course, kicks off International Women's Day. It also kicks off CSW 69, which is what we're going to be doing this year. Each of the panelists that you see this year are going to be in CSW. For the United Nations, and they're going to be in offering. This event today is going to also go because, of course, the UN kicks off CSW with IWD, and IWD 25, International Women's Day, is going to be televised in Europe this year. So we're going to have a conglomerate with the US and in Europe. So I think what we're going to do is have a bigger audience for a bigger knowledge base of what it is that we do as women and women advocates. So what does that mean? What is a woman's advocate? I think a lot of us are seeing what it is that we do, but what is it really? What comes into women's advocacy? Well, we can say things like research or activism or understanding what women need and providing it in their scale, in their country, in their language, understanding that the communities are a whole being represented, excuse me. But what does that mean as far as the actual action items? What does that mean? Now, Lisa, I'm going to start with you, but you brought in sanitary napkins and you brought in things that we do for girls specifically in the poverty areas or the period poverty areas. And it allows us to understand what some women are going through. Just to know here in the United States, we don't even think twice about going to the store and getting what we need during that time of month. But talk to me a little bit about what it is that we are going to be doing, or at least what it is that Global Goodwill Ambassadors are going to be doing. So tell me the story behind your nonprofit and what inspired you to start this organization in the first place.
Well, it started bringing people together. And then as we became bigger and closer, and, Zoom helps, of course, WhatsApp helps. It brought us closer together, and it helped us realize what's going on in other countries, because we don't get to fly to every country, every day, and see it personally, but we can hear it and see it personally through people like Faith, who's in Kenya, or Dr. Lab Singh, or Kelly Federo, who's on here on the Ivory Coast. And we decided that we were more of a movement, and then we decided becoming a nonprofit would really help us help those in need. And you talk about sanitary pads, for instance. I mean, women have come a long way. We've shattered barriers, we've challenged stereotypes, and we've made history, from securing rights to vote in most countries to leading nations. But yet, despite all of that progress that's been made, there's still a lot of work to do. There's so much gender inequality that exists. And one of those is the fact that girls and women don't have access to sanitary pads. Like Dr. Amina said, we could go right over to the store next door and pick up a box, or at the dollar store and pick up a box for $1.50, I think, these days. But but even in the United States, and this is something that, I'm fortunate enough to be working on my PhD in gender and human rights through Harbor Heritage University with Dr. Amina. And, through my research, I've learned even more that we see in other countries, and we're told how many women just don't have access. But even in the States, 1 in 4 women are poverty or period, they have period poverty.
Mm.
And that is a huge thing. I mean, we think back, and I'm just going to be real open here. We think back to when I was in high school, and one of the things, when we were administrating, we were just, oh gosh, I hope nothing's showing or anything, nothing leaking. I mean, this is serious. It is. It really is. But that's the little that we thought about it. That's as far as our, because we were, well, because I'm old. Um,
Oh,
I'm old. So, but these young girls in other countries that don't have access to sanitary pads, it's heartbreaking because they can't go to school. There's the period shaming from other students. There's the shame of themselves, and many of them end up dropping out of school and never even going back to school. How fair is that? That's not fair. That's not equality in this world. These are sanitary pads. How often do we take something like this and just throw it away every day, or an old shirt or something like that? Where why can't we get more sewing machines? Why can't we get sewing machines to these women in rural areas, all around the world and in villages? And why can't we get free sanitary pads? I am all for, there should be we get a prescription. I'm a diabetic. I get a prescription for my test strips.
Mhm.
Well, I'm also a woman. When I was menstruating, I didn't get a prescription for my pads. And that I think governments need to step up on this. And sadly, many governments are run, and I don't mean this in a bad way whatsoever, but I think that there are a lot of men who understand, and I know we have a lot of supportive men in all of our organizations. I know we do.
Yes.
Um, but there are a lot of, until you go through it, it's a little bit hard. And then also with FGM, women are in need of those sanitary pads. We're in need of those pretty much most of our entire lives,
Yeah.
because at some point in our life we become older, and even getting to the bathroom is harder for women. And it's it's sad. So we have to pick up the pace on getting sanitary pads out to people. And I know that Amina's been doing a great job of sending barrels to the Gambia. But we've really got to, I hope the whole world is listening. And if you have any extra money, buy one box of sanitary pads, send it to where your closest shelter, whatever you can do. Reach out to Amina or me, and we'll we'll lead you on where to send it. And but
Absolutely.
we have to help people. But just imagine yourselves, everyone listening, if you had to go through that and worry about that and then not be able to go to school. I played sports in school, all through school. I, you know, I wouldn't have, if I didn't have sanitary pads, there would have been no sports for me.
None.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to prattle on, but
No, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you saying that because that makes sense. How many kids want to play as it's called over there football, but we call it soccer? How many women want to play soccer? How many women want to have that opportunity? How many women are just wanting to go to school? I mean, just simple things. We have, especially in the African continent, I speak highly on the Maputo Protocol, which is the Declaration of Human Rights for women of the African continent. But if we have the United States Declaration of Independence, we have the UN Declaration of Human Rights, and now we have the African Declaration of Human Rights, and we have everybody in full agreement that all of this is supposed to happen. Why do we still have a deficit when it comes to women that are in these countries? That is the biggest question I've ever had. If we know that this is a world dominating piece that deals with the masculine view, or you deal with the, I call it paternal politics because it's passed down from father to father to father. And we deal with this paternal politics that is accepted and welcomed and promoted. Then when you have your girls, why isn't this now shifted? Is it because the power of the paternal line or lineage is greater? Or is it because we have a understanding that this is the status quo and our voice is not powerful enough? I don't, that's a bigger piece. I have a few questions from, I think, Colombia that is asking something similar to what I said. It says, but there are tending to be more women in politics now that are coming forward. So why hasn't policy changed? Well, I think I'll answer that one. Policy has changed. It just has not reached and affected the people that it needs to affect. So what do I mean by that? If we have a law that says that we can do X, Y, and Z. So for example, let's do Roe v. Wade, which is what we're going to deal in next. Roe v. Wade was thought to be taken away. But what it was is it was given state by state. So all of the people, state by state, if you want it, you vote on it, you have Roe v. Wade. It's here in New York. You can come here and have your choice and your option here in New York. Why? Because New York is not going to ever take that away. We've already said that. We've understood that. We're not going to take that away. There's a couple other states like us, Massachusetts, and I think it's California. You're just not going to take that choice away from us. Our voice is that strong. But then there are still some voices that are very paternalistic, and that paternal patriotism is seen in what they vote in. So if you vote in someone that you know is against Roe v. Wade, then you're not going to get Roe v. Wade. So it's not necessarily what it is that we have as far as laws. It is where we go with those opportunities. If you know that you're not getting leadership that is proper and right for you, then you should be powerful enough to say, I don't want this. And everybody in your purview should say, I don't want this, and move forward from there. So I think this next election is going to be huge. One of my elders in our community said that. She said that, I want to be alive for this one, because this next election coming around, people are tired. And I want to see the change that I've been waiting for since the 50s and 60s. And she felt it. She felt it. So when the election happened here in the United States and it didn't go the way we thought it was going to go, she was like, I'm finished. I'm done. She said, there's nothing else I need to see in this world. And it was funny that she said it like that. There's nothing else I need to see in this world, because she really thought that this election was going to be the shapeshifter, the game changer, the thing that amassed the greatest change that we needed in society. Even if it wasn't electing the first woman, it was going to be electing something different than what we had. And that was the name of the game, doing something different to get something. That you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting something to change, is insanity. And that's what she said we're in. We're in an age of insanity. And with all this information out here, we should not have been here. So with that, I'm going to go to Faith, and I'm going to ask her, in the goodness of what she knows to be true and right and the things that she does. Madam Faith, asking you your question. What does Women's Day mean to you? And how do you think women-owned nonprofits contribute to a more equitable society? Faith?
When I think through
Yes.
this question, I realize that every year my answer changes about what Women's Day is to me or what it means to me. This year, it means resilience, it means strength and power, mainly because of what we have been through in Kenya. There are so many cases of femicide, and I have seen so many women in the streets, women you would not have thought to leave their houses. I'm talking about beauty influencers, I'm talking about musicians, I'm talking about people who we see are far over there, that you'd never expect to see them on ground, because of course, when there are peaceful protests in this country, tear gases are always there. So to see that women from all walks of life, from all positions of power, and I'm not talking about government officials, I'm talking about from regular folks to celebrities on the ground, all just singing in solidarity to women and calling for end of femicide, calling for end of sexual gender-based violence. So this year, it means power, it means resilience, it means we are willing to fight. That's what Women's Day means to me. It means we are in that space and we recognize what we need to do and that the power is in our hands. And when it comes to what I think about women-owned nonprofits, the truth is there are men who can relate to women, but they're never going to fully understand women's problems. Women-owned NGOs are more often stem from a position of either people who've gone through it, someone close to them has gone through something, or they have just been in positions where they've seen something happen to them or to people around them. So it's more personal to them. And so their solutions are also very personal and it's way more driven. And I'm talking about organizations like Usikime. Usikime is a nonprofit in Kenya. It's one of the most, it's one of the organizations, when you mention the name, everybody knows. And they deal with eradication of sexual gender-based violence, and they highlight cases and they help victims and they provide safe houses. And the founder of the organization was a victim of gender-based violence herself. So when she fights for the victims who later, of course, become victors, she fights with her soul. So what I think is that women understand women's problem. Women have the fighting spirit to fight for women, and women can collaborate with other women because they understand the dynamics of that. They understand what it looks like for a country like ours, which is very patriarchal and whose majority of the people who vote in laws are men. So there is a need in the rise of women organizations, and there has been a rise in this country. So I think it's powerful. I think they allow for the other women to also have access to information, because it's easier for a woman to talk to another woman and tell them, I've gone through this. It's easier for a woman to go to, even when you're going to orphanages, it's much easier for me to talk to the girls than it is for the men to talk to the girls, because the girls feel like, okay, she can't be a big sister, she can't be a mother figure, we can tell her this is what you're going through, especially things to do with sexual health, menstrual health, even just about body development and things like that. Yeah, I think women-owned, they contribute a lot more to an equitable society because they understand what the problems are. And even to just reiterate to what Lisa said about menstrual hygiene, it takes a woman to fully understand that during that time of the month, it's not just the sanitary protection you need. There are women who get sick. And somebody may not understand why some girls will come to school, assuming everybody has sanitary pads, of course. That's the assumption now. Not everyone will understand why some women are okay during their menses, others are sick, they get nausea, their body is just a monster during this time of the month. So when you have women organizations, even for them, they can amplify and say menstrual health is not just about, you know, getting sanitary pads. It's also getting painkillers for the girls whose periods are painful. It's about getting help for the girls going through endometriosis, who just think it's just painful periods and that's it. It takes for women opening a lot of organizations and being in this space to be able to fight, especially because we don't have a lot of representation in parliament. But at least we can have representation when it comes to non-profit organizations, international organizations. Yes, that's what I think. I think women-owned organizations bring a fair fight to the table, and they are able to advocate for policies from a point of, I understand because I am a woman and I have gone through that. My sisters have gone through that. My mother has gone through that. And the women to come, we don't want them to go through that.
Yes, yes. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that last part. We don't want them to go through that. And I think this is why we're having this today. And this is why Lisa was suggesting this whole conference because we don't want anybody else to go through this. We don't want any other woman to recognize that there is a problem that they have, and there isn't another woman out there that has a solution or at least a remedy or possibly a cure, if you will, for what it is that ails them. And if you've been through it, you are the now teacher, you are the mentor, you are the one with the wisdom. Even if that is just one way to do it, it's a way that wasn't thought of before or a way that wasn't introduced before, and that can be a greater asset to the woman that is still searching and seeking. And I think that that's a greater advent, for each one to teach one. We used to do that back in the day, and I remember I too am old. Um, and I remember the community raising us. Now, I come from a more African background, but a lot of what we did was we listened to the elders. It was a big thing back in the day. We used to say, you need to respect your elders. And even if we were 1 year older than the person we were talking to, we would always call ourselves elders. And we would jokingly say, respect your elders. If I say something, it's the truth. And you need to listen to me. And it was because we wanted to replicate what we saw. We replicated that thing that we saw in our community where the elders spoke and we listened. But a lot of that is being lost. It's being lost to a a cultural shift that is making social media the wisdom. We're shifting toward the ageism piece of not giving the dignity and the quantifying pieces to the elders. And then if they're too old, then they're saying, oh, well, they may not understand. They may not know. But when we deal with women and girls, I don't care what age we were in. If it was prehistoric to we are past 2050, women are still going to have periods the same way. They're going to still have the same need. The bodies are going to be the same. They're going to develop the same way, maybe not at the same age, but the needs are still going to be the same. So if we can develop solutions now that will be territorially accepted, I think we can move forward to being repeatable and sustainable programs. If we know, just like if we have a fire, we call the Red Cross. Why? Because the Red Cross has been known over the years to give aid after a tragedy. And then if you know that something happens in your home, you call the police because the police have been known to give solutions to anything that's law abiding or broken in the law. So we want to make a women's organization and the reach of the women's organizations, such as these NGOs, a repeatable and sustainable force where no matter where you are, there's going to be a barrel that's going to be sent to your neck of the woods so that you can have, and it's going to be repeatable and sustainable so that you will never have to worry about it not being there. And this is the goal, and this is where the support comes in. So Lisa, I'm going to go to your next question that we have for you. Speaking of sustainable and repeatable and knowing what it is that we need, what are some of the specific challenges or gaps in the community does your nonprofit aim to address? What are some of the things that we are seeing that is repeatable and sustainable, but there's a gap in getting that product or that thing to the person?
Well, I know most nonprofits have been going through ups and downs since COVID,
Right.
but getting even the manufacturers of sanitary pads to work with more nonprofits, it's a long process, and it's hard to to get them on board. I mean, I know they want help, but I'm sure, and I cannot say this with 100% confidence, but I'm sure there is product that is thrown away that could be utilized without any infections being caused or anything like that, that the box might have been bent and the whole box is thrown away. I have seen videos of people dumpster diving and pulling these things out, and I'm not going to name any manufacturers or anything, but pulling these out of the dumpsters, and it's like they were there was nothing wrong with the box was just bent.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't want a smushed box. It's what's inside that's not going to matter. And that's a whole month for, a young girl. But we all have to speak up more, and we have to educate more. And I think that when we see an inequality, we've got to challenge that. We've got to call out the stereotypes and advocate for policies that promote gender equality and brings out we need to talk about sanitary pads. I mean, when I go out, if I'm at the doctor's office and I'm in the waiting room, I'm talking to someone about sanitary pads. I mean, that's not something I thought I would have been thinking of a long time ago. Um, and it's one of those things that we have to keep our voices loud. We
Yeah.
have to keep our voices proud, and we have to, the louder we are and the more we get the message out there, the right people are going to hear it and they're going to help.
Absolutely.
So I think that, and I'm not embarrassed of putting up flyers on LinkedIn and letting them know, people know we need sanitary pads, and that 66% of the women in Missouri have access to, can afford sanitary pads. What it
66%. Wow.
6%.
Wow. And this is 2025. Wow.
Yep. We've already been to the moon. We've done everything. We keep going everywhere, and sanitary pads, seriously? It's like, this has to happen. It really just has to take place. And another thing that, that I stand behind is also domestic violence and ending domestic violence. My
Mm.
mother went through, and I witnessed a tremendous amount of domestic violence. So I stand, I'm not going to ever keep my mouth shut. If I'm somewhere and I see someone being hurt, I'll do what I can to help. Um, and that's just, it's in my heart. This
Yeah.
is just, you know, getting into the nonprofit world, into this, it just every day, um, drives it into my heart even more. I don't know how much further it can go. It's already coming out of my back there, uh, but I believe in humanity, and I know that there are more good people out there that will help. They just need to know that we need the help. So the communication part, we have to get that out. I mean, when's the last time you've picked up a newspaper? Or nobody picks much. Some people still pick up newspapers, but when's the last time you picked up a newspaper or even just a magazine and you've read in there, oh, sanitary pads are needed?
Right. That's right.
Why don't
That's
we get some ads into men's car magazines, and some of the race car drivers that are making excellent money might donate some of that, or sewing machines, anything to help, because
that's
they
right.
just don't, they might not realize what's going on outside of maybe their own family. And sorry, I get a little.
No, 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 no. This is what we need. This is what the purpose of this is for, to get ideas going. There's a state mandate that has happened in New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia where if you have basic insurance, you still can get Viagra, but yet you can't get basic. Um, and I laugh at it because that was actually in the paper that they fielded a mandate that basic insurance will now cover Viagra for men. So I said, so do we get the over the counter card that you get? Can you use that now and buy the sanitary napkins and the pads? And they said, no, that's just for medicines. So now you're not even seeing, tampons and pads and stuff as a need for a woman, but you see Viagra as a need for a man. That is actually covered by insurance. I find that extremely prejudicial and extremely violating that here it is, the very thing we need. It's a basic necessity, yet it's not covered under. Oh, now you can purchase it, but if someone wants to say something about it, they can actually deny the purchase for that. And some stores, like almost like if you go into a store and let's say you have in the United States, we have something that's called a food card, and it's specifically just for food. If you try to buy toilet paper, it won't allow you to buy it because it's not a food item. Well, there are computers here in the United States that if it does not ring up a certain product with that OTC card, it will deny the purchase. So in other words, you'll get to buy everything else over the OTC, but not those pads and those tampons. And that's a problem. Even in New York, there's a legislature going on right now because they're trying to add that to the list. But why should we even have to go to legislature? Why do we have to go to a court, a House of Representatives to get something as basic as tampons and pads on a card that is meant for pharmaceutical needs? And if it's purchased in a pharmacy, why is it not allowed on the card? So that's a huge thing here in the United States. We're grappling with that. We're trying to meet matters with that. But Faith, let me ask you something. How do you collaborate with other organizations or businesses to amplify the impact of certain things? How do you bring this forward? How do you put this in a parameter where other organizations say, yeah, let's sign an MOU, let's work together? How do you do that in your neck of the woods?
Well, it's no secret that what I fight for requires association, requires partnerships, and because there are two key things. There's the part of me that is fighting for general human rights, and there's the part of me that is fighting for the girls in schools, in orphanages that cannot afford to stay in school. I am a product of luck, blessings. Some may call it just good, I don't know. I am a victim of good education saves lives. So that is why I advocate hardly for education. And this is in, for example, like orphanages, not just in orphanages, even in a majority of Kenya, which is majorly poor, sanitary protection is a luxury. Sadly, it is a luxury. If you can afford it every single month, you are up there. And so I fight hard so that I can get as much as possible and give out to schools that cannot afford it, to the homes in the slum areas that can't afford it, and to the orphanages. Now, I have collaborated with Real Analytics, that's the company I work for them to provide sanitary pads to some of the orphanages that I go and mentor. And so sometimes we get supply for a full year, then I know I do not have to worry about that. I have partnered with the Global Goodwill Ambassadors Foundation, and they have bought a school that had over 500 girls with reusable sanitary protection. So I know for the next 2 years, I do not have to worry about that school. I have partnered with other individuals who have said every month I'm going to be buying 10 girls sanitary protection. So without collaboration, it is not possible because it is not affordable. I also have had the favor of working with some of the companies that produce sanitary pads in Kenya and that have pledged and actually delivered sanitary pads to schools and orphanages that I support. So I know that is very important to do. And the other part of collaboration is when it comes to policies. Now, for other organizations like Usikimie Inua Dada Foundation, all those organizations that fight for policies to be changed, I follow into their footsteps and we join hands when we have to go to the streets. For example, last year we were for the anti-finance bill because it called for more taxation of sanitary pads, which is something that is already not affordable in this country. And they wanted it to even be less affordable. So partnering with these other organizations and taking it to the streets, and that bill was reversed. So that's important, even when it comes to policies. Also partnering with other organizations that are saying, let's put an end to femicide, let's put an end to GBV, and taking it to the streets and amplifying our voices. It cannot be done by just one organization. It calls for all the organizations that believe in this. It calls for all of us going to social media and saying we're going to do walks, we are going to do peaceful protests. It's everybody has to come out. So collaboration is essential. And how we do this is first, you of course identify the other organizations that are speaking your voice. I have learned to follow through with organizations that I know are pro. Let's give women like equal pay. So we will collaborate with those when it comes to matters of fighting for equal pay for equal work. There are different other organizations that will call for end of femicide, gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence, and all forms of gendered violence. So I will collaborate with them and we will do what we need to do. If it's protests, if it's fighting policies, if it's working with government institutions to make sure that change can be felt. And I work with companies and organizations that do donate food products and do donate sanitary protection, so that I can tell them, don't give me, give this orphanage directly. You don't need to give money. You can pay that factory that produces reusable pads and they can take directly to the schools. So you identify the right organizations, you talk to them, and of course, if you can back up your words, because you do not come to Global Goodwill Ambassadors and tell them, give me money for pads. You tell them, we as the Girl Smile Initiative have been able to get 300 sanitary pads. We would appreciate if you would add 300 more. So you walk the talk yourself so that others can see what you're doing and they can follow through and say, we want to support because you can see you've done the work as well.
Can't hear you, Amina.
I said, I'm screaming over here. Thank you, Lisa. I am screaming. I saw Lisa over there. She was turning red because she was so happy. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. Oh my goodness. Yes. And wow. Yes, to start walking the walk. And I thought that was like understood like years ago when we first started it. But I see that it's only a handful of people that are actually willing to put on the shoes and actually travel this journey. Other people are just wanting to see what's out there on the road. And then there's people that are actually walking the road. And I just want to thank you for being one of those people, Faith. And I have to congratulate, of course, Lisa for being one of the many that put money, what you say, put your money where your mouth is, and putting what it is that is necessary out there for those women that are in need. So thank you. Thank you both. We have a question from, thank you, Nathan. We have a question from Fordham. It says, can you explain why the international organizations, UNICEF, WHO, et cetera, are not sponsoring these items? Oh, that's a good question. Does anybody want to answer that? Because I have a great answer for that. Does anybody? Okay. Because in order for them to sponsor things like this, they have to admit that there's a problem. They would have to orchestrate, because UNICEF works with children, WHO works with the adults. Period poverty is known by both of them. If they come out and say, we're going to give $100,000, I'm just throwing the number up there. If they're going to give $100,000 for period poverty and ending it in Kenya, they would have to recognize that Kenya has had a problem enough for us to quantify this money. They would have to own it. And then they would have to come forward with a plan that is sustainable and repeatable, because Kenya is going to say, okay, you did this last year. Why are you not doing this this year? Then Ghana is going to jump in, and then Botswana is going to jump in, and then South Africa is going to jump in, and they are not going to be able to substantiate this. So they cannot do it for one, or they'll have to do it for the other, which hurts me, because if nothing else, they have chapters in each of these countries, and each of these countries can utilize some of that money to aid these offenses. So if you have a UNICEF Kenya, or you have a UNICEF Gambia, why is some of that money not allocated to some of this? Because they're sitting there waiting for another catastrophe to happen, but in the meantime, we have crisis that's happening. So why are they not putting the money out there? And of course, I've raised that question over and over and over. When I speak at the United Nations, I speak with the representatives. I always ask, why are you not allocating some of this money to go to these things? Oh, well, because we have bigger issues of IDPs or migrants or wartime crimes. Well, do women not have menses even though they're going through war?
Exactly.
Do women stop their periods because they're now an IDP? I mean, does that happen at all, ever? And go ahead, Lisa. I do want you to chime in.
No, it's good. No, I was going to just back you up on that. I mean,
Please.
doesn't a woman that's been internally displaced,
Correct.
doesn't she have less of access to getting pads?
Correct.
I mean, seriously, think about it. It's just, and where are all of these ambassadors that these organizations have that have a voice? Why aren't they talking about period poverty? Because I don't see them doing that. And they've got a voice, and they've got, I know that a lot of them donate money, but they have the voice to get the education out there. I mean, come on, Taylor Swift. Please do a song and let people know what's going on. You can get it out to so many people. You can.
Yes.
And I'm not picking on Taylor Swift. I mean anybody. She's just a big name
Correct.
big names out there. Carrie Underwood. Let's get some songs out there about this. But
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or even if not, just when you go on tour, just say a portion of this proceed will affect will go toward women that are dealing with period poverty. Do you not know the groundswell that will come from that? If Beyonce would say, I'm going to give for every 100 people that come in, I'm going to give $10. I mean, we could just do it that way. Do you not know the millions of dollars that will come through just from that? Just buying the album, 10% will go toward that. Do you not know the groundswell that will come from that? One of the bigger pieces that I see also, especially in East Africa, is that we're having more and more women ambassadors being put into office, presidents and that type thing. So I just knew this was going to just be, oh, women are just going to get everything and anything they need. All we have to do is just put it in our wish list and it's just going to appear. And I'm noticing, and like the question is from Colombia, thank you, Mason. It says, are there government agencies that will step in with their ambassadors, especially the women ambassadors? Just what Lisa said. Why is this not being a topic, especially if those that, we congratulate another woman ambassador, another woman president, but what are they doing for the cause of women, especially those things that have been ongoing prior to their ability to get into office? Why is this not a grandstanding event? Does anybody want to answer? Faith, did you want to answer any of that? Okay. Oh, sorry. Are you on mute?
I think
Oh, okay.
I've come to realize that some people, it's not innate in them to want to assist, especially just for assisting purposes. That's why you realize, okay, how do you put it? For example, in Kenya, we have this rule that is a particular percentage of people in parliament or positions in leadership have to be given to women. It's 25%, right? Even for us, the assumption was if we have a lot of women in parliament, then our bills are just going to be passed and they're going to understand us. I think what we didn't count on is it's personal to want to help. You may put me in power, but I do not understand poverty. I do not understand the needs of the less fortunate. And I could just have been educated and just swept in and became a woman. Not every woman understands the plight of women. So even if we have a lot of representation, we have the wrong representation. They are in parliament. It's none of their business that they cannot even relate to the fact that slum areas exist. Some people have never been to a slum area, and they probably never will be for the rest of their lives. So even when we are crying and saying we cannot afford sanitary pads, in Kenya they go for $2, right? $2 is expensive, even for a person who is earning a salary of even $500. But somebody who's never been put in a position to understand that $2 is a lot of money will just never understand why you're complaining. Why are you saying prices are high when they're just $2? So we may put a lot of people in power, but are we putting the right people? Are these people who can relate to the problems on ground? Be it ambassadors, be it women representatives, be it PCs, be it even the president. So that's one of the problems, especially East Africa faces, putting all the wrong people in power and hoping that, I'm looking at you, you're a woman, you should understand me. But they just don't. They can't relate. It's not their problem. It never will be their problem. They don't even understand why you're crying over $2, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality as well.
I don't hear in our politics, and women are vocal in the US, but I never see them standing up and talking about period poverty. There are things they'd like to address that, yes, that are important, but some of those things could definitely take a back seat, and I will stand my ground on that 100%, that they're talking about. And even the media. I mean, the media, God love the media. I do. It's a good way to get information across, but they're not getting, instead of watching somebody trip up some stairs over and over and over and over again, how about put a spot on there about period poverty or domestic violence? Why don't we, how come we don't hear about anything unless someone dies? And and it has to be a sensationalized thing if someone dies that we even hear about that person. So
Correct.
it's just women, we've there's a lot of changes. We have a long way to go, and
Yeah.
we cannot stop fighting for our rights and our dignity. And we're not taking anything away from anybody. We're
Right.
just asking to be called equal and to be treated equal and to look at our problems differently. Men have problems, yes, but we have problems too. Ours are just as important as theirs. I'm not I'm not out here saying, oh, you're a man, I don't care about what happens to you. I'm married to one. Of
Right.
course I care about it. But we have to stay, we have to and we have to empower the future generations that are coming up to take these battles on too, because it's not going to be won overnight. It's an ongoing thing. Sadly, it's ongoing, and we can't stop until every woman gets the equality she deserves.
Absolutely. That is the best. Yeah. Yes, Faith, please. Please add.
No, there's something I've just remembered. There's this Swahili words that is umama. Umama that basically means being a woman, and it's a high form of insult to men. So just remember, it's so hard for us. We fight so hard to get our space, and I hope we would get to a point where being a woman is not an insult. Because when a man does something stupid, then they're told, "Why are you behaving like a woman?" If they get angry, it's like you're behaving like a woman. If they don't reason properly, it's like stop reasoning like a woman. Like it's supposed to be this big insult if you do things like a woman would. So even as we fight for this space, we're also fighting for like a woman not being an insult, because it is not an insult. We do go to the same schools, we do get good grades, we do a good job. So for being a woman to become an insult, and for someone, when once a man is being told stop behaving like a woman, it's this major thing that is so insulting that he can even, like if you tell an African man he has umama, that man will take a knife and put it through your stomach just to prove to you he's nothing like a woman.
Wow.
Yeah.
That now that hurts because to be a woman, which is what he came from, to been raised by a woman, which is what he has been sired from, and then to now delineate it to such a fact that it degrades the very manhood. That just leads me to believe that the manhood is what we need to promote.
Now,
Because the power is greater in the woman, and he wouldn't even be here to put that knife in your stomach if it wasn't for a woman. So I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe we do need to do more men's programs. But go ahead, Lisa. I'm sorry, you were getting ready to say something.
I was just that it just made me. I was thinking, that there are a lot of men that do help women, but
Yes.
some of them, I think that there are some that just still don't
Get it.
appreciate women in leadership. And if they can't appreciate women in leadership and get over the male female thing and understand that it's uh someone's doing a good job, it just you don't have to disagree with somebody just because you wanted, because they're a different gender.
Correct.
And women, I mean, yeah, we respect our parents, we respect our elders. Um, but when you leave that house, just because you walked out the door and your mom's still at home, does not mean that you go out and beat up on a woman or make fun of a woman or anything like that either. Take
That's
that
right.
same frame of mind that you have when you're in the presence of your mother and your grandmother, and how they, if you don't listen, that you take that same frame of mind when you walk out of that house and you go out on the street and you see women on the street, treat them the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just got to notice that we are, and I agree with you. We are at the wire of the event. But I think what you are saying, Lisa, I think makes more sense than they want to give credit to, because I guarantee that same person that Faith just talked about that would put a knife in your stomach, if someone was to say something to their mother, they'd probably put the same knife to your stomach. Now you just got called a woman, but now you're defending a woman because someone talked bad about your mother. You see what I mean? Like it's like you can't have it both ways. So yeah, we have to change that thinking, and I think that that's where a lot of where the patriarchal politics will fly by night once we get that mindset untwisted. Before we close out, I first want to thank Fordham. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all of the questions, at Columbia University. Thank you so very much for being here. I have both the instructors on here, and we have 30 students total that has watched this event today, and they have been so empowered. Please, Faith, yes, yes, the Ambassador Magazine, yes, the Ambassador Magazine is a newsworthy piece that is sponsored by the Global Goodwill Ambassador.
Now in print. I know it's
And
hard
now in print, right? Now you can buy your own, and you donate to the pads and the things that GGAF is doing. So please reach out. Can both of you put your information in the chat so that they can reach out and get it? Just put your name in an email, or maybe your LinkedIn, and maybe they could connect there. I see Dr. Singh has had his hand up. Normally what we do is you put your question in the chat and we'll go through the questions there. But Dr. Singh, if you would like to unmute your mic, you have about maybe about 30 seconds. If you can ask the question or make the statement, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I say everybody the happy International Women Day to everybody over here. So thank you, Dr. Amina and Lisa, all the people available here, all the participants. Actually, I was just to compile the whole thing, regarding this sanitary napkins and gender issues. Like, first of all, we have to create the awareness, among the people, among the, all age groups of the gender, that we definitely need help in this regard. And secondly, we have at the United Nations level also, we have our Sustainable Development Goal number 4, which talks of gender equity. So every nation who is the signatory is there. It's their responsibility to ensure that they make it necessary that that those basic needs like sanitary napkins, they are made available in a way that we have the right to food, right to work, and right to information. So why can't we have the right to sanitary napkins? That has to be imposed on every nation through the United Nations. And then thirdly, we should have the change of mindset. We should be empathetic towards the need of young children and everybody who need this help, in a way to help the sanitation also, and of course their health as such. So we have to have the ownership of that. And then we have to be enabling the non-profit organizations who are producing those probably sanitary napkins. We can supply them the machines, we can think of supplying them the material. So, and even the children who need it, people of all groups, they should be able to make it themselves as well. So we have to empower them to do that. So then lastly, we have to be increasing the connectivity. The more we are connected, the more awareness we will be having, and more it will be easy to deliver those sanitary napkins. If we have them, we have to deliver it. So people have to be connected. So that 3-4 points which I wanted to make, that is from my side, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all of those points have been made through the report here. But I thank you for using your voice to validate that and confirm that. So thank you so very much. That's the time. I want to thank Lisa and Faith. I'd like to go around really quick, if you would. can you give us your final thoughts? Give us a gem, 30 seconds, starting with Faith. Give us a gem for women coming behind you, please.
It's simple. We have set the groundwork. You're just following through and you're helping us continue with the journey. And it will not be as hard for you as it has been for the rest of us, because the path is clear and we are fighters and we are ready to fight until we get equality, until we say there's an end to femicide, there's an end to gender-based violence, and there is an end to poverty. We are fighting so that you don't have to fight as hard as we are. Yes, that's all there is to say right now.
Thank you so very much. And Lisa, give us a gem on what you want to leave for those coming after you.
Let's commit to action. We need to speak up, empower girls, mentor and support, lead by example, and celebrate women's achievements. We are sisters and brothers, all of us. And we are sisters, stand behind each other, stand beside each other, lift each other up when someone's down.
Yeah.
Just have to commit to action. Let's get it done.
Absolutely.
Let's get it done.
Yes, that's right. And it takes a woman to get women's work done. So we are going to do it. We're going to continue this conversation. We have other events through CSW, so you're more than welcome to come. Lisa, thank you so very much. Faith, thank you immensely. And I really appreciate both of you spending your time today. Just know a copy of this will be sent to you once it has been edited, and it will be sent to you directly. It's also going to be sent to the side events organization so that they can stream it, and they stream little bits of it, little chunks of it throughout CSW, so people can see who is actually doing the talking, who is doing the speaking, and who is making sure that this conversation continues, especially for women. So please note that you will be celebrated. I'm going to send you this. Please post it on your social media. Please make sure that you are getting in the conversation and you're joining others to the conversation so that others may be able to get this job done. Thank you so very much for coming. I want to thank Abe Ling. I thank Dr. Lab Singh. And I'd like to thank, again, Columbia University and Fordham University and the students that took their Saturday to have time with us. Thank you so very much. I see you all on your screens, and thank you again for being with us. God bless you all, and we will talk soon. Be well.
Thank you, Dr. Amina, for putting this together and all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome.